Hello and welcome back to my Minecolonies tips, tricks, guides and tutorials videos. Now recently I took a trip over to Google and typed in Minecolonies How To, and I've gone through the most commonly asked questions about Minecolonies. So without further ado, let's jump into the Minecolonies How To. Oh man, that rhymes. So question number 1, how do I get more citizens? Minecolonies is a mod where you need to have a lot of dudes in your colonies at all time. They can die sometimes as well, and you're going to want to keep replenishing your ranks. So what are the best ways to get new dudes into your colony? Well, route number 1 is this building here. It's called the Tavern. There are many different styles to it. It builds up from levels 1, 2 and 3, but you cannot upgrade your tavern to levels 4 or 5. And it's one of the buildings that you can build early on in the game without any other research whatsoever. In fact, I would argue that it's probably my number 1 first building to build, because it also comes with space for 4 colonists to live in as well. There are 4 beds here that your first 4 dudes can bed down in. Now when you build the tavern, you'll get these NPCs that arrive, and they'll have these weird faces above them with the plus icon. That means they're a colony visitor and you can potentially invite them to your colony. The quality of the colonists that you're trying to invite is dictated by their boots. If they have no boots on at all, like this lady, then she is a low quality colonist. And to right click on her, you'll see that she has a price that she wants to ask to come and join your colony. Lower quality ones generally have lower requirements to get them in, but they also have lower stats. Whereas Suki Grumpy House over here with his diamond boots is a much higher level, and his requests are a bit higher. It's quite tricky to find honeycomb, for example, in the early game, especially without a beekeeper's hut. But the flip side is, his stats are much higher. Now early on in the game, it doesn't really matter what the stats are on your first colonists. You kind of just want anybody, and to be honest, the cheaper the better, because colonists do very slowly level up in their jobs. So when people come to visit your colony at the tavern, they will stay for a fixed number of time, and that number is dictated by how much hunger they have left. When their hunger runs out, they'll go, you know what, I don't like this guy, and they'll leave the colony. So if there's somebody you do like and you want to get into your colony, you're going to have to make sure they stay. Now the best way to do this is to feed them. Now I've got some steak here, and if I right click on Lavena the Sandman, boom, you'll see tasty food, guess I'll stay a bit longer. And what this does is it gives you a bit more time to gather those materials you need to hire her into the colony. So do be careful with these visitors, because monsters will attack them, and if they do die, colonists are less likely in future to come and visit your colony, and the quality of the colonists that do visit will be much lower. So you don't have to bust your chops protecting them massively. However, do make sure they're not just left to die all the time, because that'll really suck. And now the second way to get more colonists into your colony is the natural way. The way we get more colonists IRL. And that's, well, when the birds and the bees get together, when a man and a woman live in the same house, they will give birth to a child. So in the town hall block, in the settings section, there is an option that lets you turn on kids being born. Once that is on, if you have a house that's at least level 2 and has a man and a woman staying in it, and if you have another house slot around the colony where nobody is sleeping, there is a chance that those colonists will perform the magical rain dance and, have a baby. Now, those babies do take some time to turn into adults. They don't grow up instantly, so having children can be pretty slow. But as you can see, Big Schneck Ziana just grew up, so it does happen. Now, while a colonist is a child, you can send them to school. It's a building, we have a teacher over here, and what a school will do is slowly level up colonists while they're studying here. So before a child turns into an adult, they'll spend most of their time in school. Hey, Big Schneck, you grew up, you don't have to come back here. Now, there are a lot of stats in Minecolonies, but the most important one to children is intelligence, the intelligence stat, because basically, once a colonist is in their job, that is when they will level up the stats required for that job. For example, a builder needs high adaptability and high athletics. And you can see Nuki Slayer of Burritos has been a builder for a long time, so his stats have leveled up all the way to 40. But the speed at which this happens all depends on their intelligence. So basically a child will go to school, their intelligence will level up, and that means that when they're placed in a job, their primary stats for that job will level up much quicker. So while children are born with lower stats, if you have a good school system and lots of research at the university unlocked about making them level up quicker, the potential of a child over somebody that you've hired from the tavern is much higher. But of course, the maximum potential of a colonist and their stats, and by extension, a child colonist's stats, is the level of their house. So make sure that your colonist's housing level is as high as possible at all times. Oof, okay, so question number 2. In Minecolonies, how do you expand your border? Well, this is my colony, and if you're used to Minecolonies, you'll realize this is much bigger than the boundaries that you get when you start the game. And if you look here, my boundaries roughly go all the way around the edge where the walls are. And in some cases, they go out even further. Now, that is because, and I'll get out my build tool to show you this, basically, when you put a building at the edge of your colony, and there we go, there is my boundary. As you can see, it's really far away. Basically, when you put a building on the edge of your colony, once that building is built, it will expand the borders. So for example, there's a square here that has expanded around the guard tower and barracks that we have here, because every time you level up the building, the border around it expands by 1 chunk. So a level 5 guard tower will expand your border by 5 chunks. And you can see here as we move how big a chunk is. So the too long didn't read answer is, to expand your borders, build buildings on the edge of your borders, and the most efficient way to do that is by using guard towers on the edge of your borders that you upgrade to level 5 to give you much more room to build. Also, the edge of your colony is the best place for guards anyway, because guards will patrol past their guard towers quite frequently. In fact, there goes your mum. Okay, here we go. Number 3. How to speed up building. Building in Minecolonies, especially in the early game, takes a long time. Builders are very slow. There are a number of things you can do to make building of buildings quicker in Minecolonies. So here, for example, we have our builder Alyssa Jack, who is building a library on this spot. But to get the ground ready for where we've put the building, she needs to do a lot of digging to make sure she has room to build the library. Now, the best way to speed this up is to not build a building where a builder has to dig a lot of things. Digging is the slowest thing a builder will do, whether it's with a shovel or a pickaxe or even a hoe. Also, the tools that they use have durability and will fail eventually, which means they have to go back and get another one, or you have to give it to them, which takes a lot of time. Also, while they're digging, their pack will fill up with the block that they're digging. And early on, a builder only gets 3 rows of this, so that's going to slow them down even more. So one way you can help is by digging the ground out with them. You can help them by helping create the land they're going to need. And early on in the game, this is the #1 way to speed them up, by helping them dig. Oops, sorry about that. Ooh. Hey, now you don't have to worry. If you accidentally dig a block that they didn't need to dig, they will replace it, so you don't have to worry about doing irreparable damage. But yeah, once the area is prepared, they'll go off, grab the materials, and get to building. So that's one way of speeding up your builder. Now, number 2. The builder requires certain materials to build every building. Those materials have to be crafted on the colony, put into the warehouse, and then taken from the warehouse by the courier to the builder's hut. Then the builder will come back to their hut and pick them up and take them to the building site. Now, this whole process takes a long time. So if you can help your builder out by gathering the materials they need, for example, black carpet, cobblestone stairs, you can come over here to the builder's hut, press this button to give it to them, and suddenly things are much easier. Now, in creative mode, you get a button to automatically give them these things, but if you're in survival, you'll have to gather them yourself. Another important thing you should do is make sure that your builder is always the best person for the job. Inside Manage Workers, you'll get the 2 stats that they need, athletics and adaptability, and you're going to want to make sure that you use the colonist that has the highest number for these stats. Now, also, your builder's hut can get clogged up, so it is important to frequently come back to the builder's hut every now and again, like every hour or so, whenever you feel like things have kind of been stale for a while, and request a pickup. And what this does is it causes the courier to empty the builder's hut entirely of all of the things they've accumulated over time. And this can be quite a lot of items, because while your builder is out preparing the land, they can be digging grass that will give them all kinds of weird seeds and fruits, and they will kind of clog up the builder's hut and get stuck in there. For example, look at our builder's rack here. We've got things like tulips, dandelions, some flax, which is 100% useless, all kinds of things that aren't relevant to the build she's doing, and so need to get out of here, because a clean builder's hut is a quick builder's hut. And last, but most definitely not least, is research. Now, the university is a very important building, probably one of the first you should build as soon as you can. And down the civilian tree, you're going to have a bunch of research that's related to citizen walk speed, use rails, walk speed 5%, walk speed 5%, and obviously if the builder walks quicker, they'll build quicker. But there's also research in the technology tree that's very important as well, like citizen block break speed, how quickly a citizen will break a block, and this is obviously very important to a builder who's trying to clear out land. There's also things like tool durability. A worker that has to change their tool less is a quicker worker. Block place speed, which is also one of the most important stats for builders, is something you should work on. But also, arguably the most important thing is citizen inventory slots. There's a whole bunch of research here that will give your builder more space in their bag. That means there's more room for them to hold things they've dug up, more room to hold materials that they're going to use for the build. It's all round probably the most important research for a builder. Okay, another way to improve the speed at which your builders build stuff is having stock minimums in your warehouse. So basically, yeah, because a builder is going to need a bunch of materials from around your colony, you're going to want to make sure you have plenty of those materials on hand, because some of the materials take a long time to make. For example, smelting stone at the stone smelter takes as long as it takes a furnace to actually cook the stone. So what you really want your stone smelter to be doing is at all times smelting things that you might need for builds. And what do I mean by that, and how can we get that to happen? What I mean is you have to set a stock minimum at your warehouse. You want to make sure that your warehouse at all times has a number of stacks of bricks, because bricks are very important to certain builds. So while you're doing nothing on the colony, your stone smelter is always trying to make sure there are 4 stacks of bricks in the warehouse, so that when your builder requires bricks and he says, oh, I need 5 stacks of bricks, your courier can say, oh, amazing, there's already those bricks in the warehouse. Otherwise, the stone smelter would have to say, oh no, okay, I'm going to need 5 stacks of clay, and it's going to take me about half an hour IRL time to actually smelt those bricks. So stock minimums are a very important part of making your builders quick. And last but not least, and this might seem like an obvious one, is have more builders. Early on in the game, it can be okay to have 1 builder's hut, but later on you're going to want many, many more. In fact, at the moment, I have 4 builder's huts, each with their own builder. And that gives me a lot of dexterity and a lot of speed in building multiple buildings at the same time. Okay, next on the list is how to assign jobs. You have your colonists and you have a building that needs a worker. Well, pretty simple, and we're going to come over to the Fletcher's hut to show you how this works. Now at the moment we have Mixterendo, Wilson, working here as a Fletcher, so we'll just fire him so I can show you. Now when you first come to a building, you'll have nobody working there. You can go to Manage Workers, and there's 2 ways you can do this. You can have the game automatically hire a worker, which is a choice, but it's not very efficient, because the game won't always pick the best person for the job, and also, sometimes you don't actually want the best person for the job, you want somebody that's trash, that's expendable, like the Nether Miner, who dies a lot. So I would always suggest having manual as your building hiring mode. Now you want to show the employed dudes, so when a colonist comes to join the colony, they will be unemployed, and they'll have a number of stats, not necessarily great ones, but each building will have the 2 stats that are important for their job highlighted. And if you hover over it, it'll tell you exactly what they do. For example, creativity and dexterity at the Fletcher's hut affects recipe improvement chance and working speed. So 1 stat will make them make bows quicker, and 1 stat will increase the chance that when they make a bow, they'll learn how to make it with less materials next time. And that's basically it. So for most buildings, you're going to want to have this on manual. And we'll just find old Mickey here and get him back in the job. But there are certain buildings that you're really going to want to have as automatic. And those buildings are the library. And that's because an unemployed person will come to work at the library to level up their stats. And the idea is you get somebody into your colony, they're unemployed, they come to the library where they learn to up their intelligence. Then when you need them in a job, you hire them from the library. They have a higher intelligence, which means while they're in the job, they level up a lot quicker. So you're going to want the library to be automatic hiring. Also, the combat academy and archery grounds, you're going to want to be automatic. Because, much like the library, unemployed dudes will come here and level up the stats that are very important to them being either archers or knights. So, people come into your colony, they get automatically hired as knights and archers. Now, at the guard tower, you're going to also want guards to be hired automatically, because guards die a lot. They're the guys that get called out to fight monsters, against raids, and they can die very frequently. So you're going to want to come over to Manage Workers, pick a role. You can pick from Knights, Archers, or Druids. This is a Knight tower, for example, because Archer and Druid are default. But yeah, you're going to want to set Automatic on a Guard tower, which means they're going to automatically hire a new Knight whenever the Knight dies. And another important setting, mostly for later on, is you're going to want to make sure they are set to hire trainees. And what this means is they will first try and hire someone from the combat academy or the archery range, because those are the guys that have been leveling up especially for this job. However, if there are no trainees, they will take unemployed people that don't have a job. And last but not least is the nether miner, who you're going to want as automatic, mostly because the nether miner is a very dangerous job. There is a flat chance that your nether miner will die every time they go into the nether. You can't avoid that. You can give them good stats, which means they're less likely to, but there's always a chance they'll die. So you're going to want the nether miner to be automatic hiring as well, so you always have somebody going in and getting your nether bricks. But it looks like Frodo Fartimus has very low stats, so I don't think he's going to be a nether miner for very long. So yeah, in short, you're going to want manual hiring mode for all buildings, you want the best stats for most dudes as well, and you're going to want the combat academies, the guard towers, the barracks towers, and the nether miner to be automatic hiring. But again, do be aware that some buildings do have different jobs in the same building. For example, a guard tower has knights, archers, and druids. And last but not least, Minecolonies How to Delete Your Colony. Now the reason why I'm doing this at the end is because this is a tutorial world. This is a copy of my save that I can come on and mess about with and not worry about it breaking. But basically, yeah, if you want to give up this colony and start a new one, what you have to do is build a town hall block and build another town hall somewhere else. And what you want to do is come over here. It won't let you build a town hall in your colony, so you're going to have to come away from the borders. Right-click with the build tool, pick town hall, Acacia will do, press the tick, and right-click on the town hall, and you'll get this UI. And this will tell you if a colony is nearby. Mine is. It's the only one on the world. It can tell you where your existing colony is, and it will give you the option to delete your own colony. Now, don't worry, when you do delete your own colony, it will give you a prompt, so you can't really do it accidentally. Whoa, but what will happen is all of your colonists will die. Every single dude you worked long and hard to gather, prepare, create, will bite the dust. They will ripperoni and pepperoni. And your colony will become a ghost town. However, oh yeah, look at all this armor on the floor. So everything they're carrying will be dropped on the floor. But the buildings themselves won't vanish. Nothing will get destroyed. However, the building blocks themselves will be removed. So the tavern block was right here. It's no longer here because the building technically has been removed. So ripperoni and pepperoni, and that's the reason why I saved this one for last, because yeah, this is kind of permanent and final. And oh my god, I'm just going to make sure that I didn't actually delete my main colony save. Oh god, this is the right world, right? This is the right world, isn't it? Anyway, thank you very much for watching my Minecolonies How To guide. This is the most basic questions that I've looked up that most people ask to do with Minecolonies, so hopefully this has helped you, and hopefully looking at my colony, you've been inspired to make something amazing of your own. As always, a massive thank you to my Patreon members. Don't forget to check out my Let's Play series on Minecolonies. It's like over 70 episodes, and pretty awesome. If you have any questions about how to do something specific in Minecolonies that I haven't answered, do let me know in the comment section. Good luck in your own colony, and take care.